Welcome to Helping Organisations Thrive. Today, I have the great pleasure of Debbie Hancock. Welcome, Debbie.
Thanks for having me, Julian.
Yeah, it's good to see you. And interestingly, I talk to people all around the world, and you're about, I don't know, 5 miles away, if that. You're probably the most local person I've interviewed, and we're still doing it in this context, but that's fine. But it's great to see you, and I've seen you in person as well, so it's even better. I know you in that way. I'm just going to tell the audience a little bit about you. So you're the founder and owner of Southbourne Accountancy and Business Services. You are a fully qualified chartered management accountant, and you have a mission to help sports and fitness businesses to use their financial information to make a profitable business and make smarter decisions. And so I'm sure at some point today, and we will be talking about money, because why not? We've got an accountant on there, so we might talk about money, but we're going to talk about money and mindset. And I think that's really important and really valuable thing to talk about. But before we get into that, because I'm nosy and curious and just want to know a bit more about people, is what do you love about what you do, Debbie?
So I choose to specialise with sports and fitness businesses because I have a personal passion for fitness. When I was younger, I swam for my local club, and then I kind of gave up fitness for a while and discovered at 23 that I was incredibly unfit and got back into it. And so over that period of time, I've really got into different types of fitness. And I believe that combining that passion and my skills means that I can work really well with the business owners and the leaders of those businesses,
Mm-hmm.
because I have the same passion and desires as they do. And so it makes it fun to work with them, and then we connect better, which if you've got a good relationship with your accountant, you can actually get the benefit from that relationship, whereas some people, they don't really know their accountant. So I enjoy working with the business owners and the leaders to help grow the business.
Mm.
And by having similar interests, it means that I'm interested in learning about their business and what they're trying to achieve.
And that's great that you're combining your skills as an accountant and your passion for sort of fitness, and then you just then squashed it all together, and you serve and help obviously those sort of business owners. What got you into the accountancy piece? I mean, obviously, have you always been interested in maths, numbers, and all that things at school? Me being very stereotypical of what I think of accountants, but has that been the case?
Yeah, so I was always good at maths. My GCSE teacher pushed me into maths A level because I wasn't going to do it. So I done maths A level and I done graphic design, which is a strange combination. Sometimes people don't assume that accountants are very creative. And then when it comes to uni, I had to decide if to go down the art route or the maths route. And I enjoyed accounting and marketing. So I done accountancy at university. Um, Left university to go to a large FTSE 100 company in a project role, so project accountant role, which is perfect because it was not going down necessarily the tax route. It was going down the using numbers and finance to help the project move forward. So it was kind of combining the math side of my brain
Mm.
with the creative side. And yeah, and I just really enjoyed that role, and that's why I continued to qualify as a chartered management accountant.
Excellent. And you've mentioned help a few times. You like helping people, and that's your sort of almost driver, really. So we're talking about money mindset. Well, first thing, what's your view on money mindset, and do people need to have the right mindset, or does it not matter?
We all have a money mindset. We just maybe don't realize it because we've never thought about it. Um, Surprisingly, I've recently learned that we form a lot of our beliefs by the age of 6, which is insane because my son's 6, and you think, oh God, what have I instilled in him? And we hear a lot of things when we're growing up. So it could be from our family, it could be friends, TV, and that helps to form our mindset over the years. And then that influences us as adults. And there's not necessarily a good or a bad money mindset, but certain beliefs can hold you back and can limit you on achieving what you want to achieve. So you might think, oh, I'm bad with money. I'm bad at maths. That's where it starts. And then I'm bad with money. And your brain, it's looking for proof that you're bad with money. And then so you'll continue to do these things and your brain will think, yes, I'm bad with money. And that will limit you from doing the things you need to do to either progress your business or in your personal life. And so that money mindset is really important. And there's definitely more of it around nowadays, and people are starting to understand it a bit more, and the impact it can have on other areas in your life.
And just as like we have health checks and what would be things to do, almost like a money mindset health sort of check, as in to make sure that I guess what are the questions we would ask ourselves to make us think that we've got a mindset that's healthy rather than good or bad, healthy or more positive? What sort of things would you think about that we need to ask?
So one question we sort of I looked at with some people the other week was, what's your earliest memory of money? Because obviously you form these beliefs as kids. So what's your earliest memory of money? And people will go back to things like the tooth fairy, or I remember going down to the newsagents with pennies that we collected and to pay for the newspaper, or maybe it's your first job, paper round. And what were you told about that money? Were you told to save it, or did you just go off and spend it? So by looking back at that, we can start to understand where our beliefs come from. And then it's asking yourself questions, taking like 10 minutes to go through questions such as, are you comfortable with receiving money? And are you comfortable with holding on to money? And then what are these beliefs? How are they serving you? So what's the impact of these beliefs? So someone might be uncomfortable with receiving money, which means that therefore they might not charge the right price. They might price too low, or if they increase their prices, they might give too much value. So they're providing too much for the price they're charging. So if your belief is, I don't feel comfortable with receiving money, it's then how is that belief serving you? There might be some good aspects to it because you're helping and impacting people, but there are also negative, because if you're not charging enough, your business isn't going to grow, and therefore you can't employ people and you can't spend money in the local economy. So how is your belief impacting you?
That's interesting. It all goes back to these beliefs, doesn't it? And the fact that I agree with you that growing up, what we observe is not almost what we're taught, because we know that actually role modeling is far more impactful than just telling somebody. Observing somebody is more impactful. And as a parent as well, always a scary challenge of that's my kids are watching me, and I'm hoping I instill hopefully some positive things about money. I think I got my girls' bank accounts from the year dot type of thing, and talked about empowering them, giving them money into their bank account and that sort of stuff, to try and create this sort of empowering nature of money, because it is empowering. So when we get these awarenesses that perhaps we do have limiting beliefs, that we see money as a cost, or money to charge whether your other clients or businesses, and feel that's too expensive and all that sort of those limits, what can we do to try and I guess either limit those beliefs or even smash those beliefs down? What sort of things have you sort of found yourself personally, but also working with some of your clients?
It's about reframing it. So I guess that when I first started my business, I would have been slightly limited in that I don't want to charge too much. I don't want to seem greedy. And over the last few years, I've obviously been working on that. And that's now what I use to help my clients. But it's not about being greedy. It's about charging for the value you're providing. And by doing that, you can have a greater impact in the world. So some people, they say, oh, you've got to make money or have an impact. And they're two separate, but actually they're not separate, because the more money you make, the greater the impact you can have, because you can either, employ people, you can give to charity, you can help your local community. And so it's reframing it, money, it's greedy to want more money. Well, is that true? Or can you reframe that in a way? So by having more money, I can have a greater impact on the world. I can have the time to go and volunteer for XYZ that I want to do, or I can help grow my business, and therefore we can bring in apprentices or kickstarters, or or help someone else grow. And so it's about reframing what you believe. A lot of people you hear is look after the pennies and the pounds will look after themselves, and and it as much as that is true, it's reframing it. So we talked about this earlier, so in your business you might think, oh, I don't want to spend X amount on marketing because it's a cost. But actually, is it a cost, or are you going to get a return on your investment? If you invest £1,000, are you actually going to make £5,000? So therefore, you don't have to, it's not about looking after the pennies to look after the pounds. It's about seeing, is that actually an investment in the business and what return you can get on that. So yeah, it's about reframing.
Yeah, and I use that a lot with lots of my clients, is that reframing perspective. And and interestingly, my wife does lots of Ironman triathlons, and often she'll be at different stages along the way, and then go, well, at least this one's not as bad as the Keltman or whatever it is. They're all tough Ironman, and so she reframes it, almost diminishes what she's doing, not the achievement, almost at the time. Therefore, it helps her to overcome, because it's not as bad as that one. Therefore, she reframes it, and I use that whole investment cost piece all the time, because I think people get this mindset of it's going to cost me. Well, therefore, it'll be painful. If something costs you, it's like a pain, isn't it? And I guess also putting that sense of purpose behind it, as you said, about actually by creating wealth in some way, the purpose behind it is I can have an impact, local community, my family, legacy, whatever it may be. And it becomes not about the money, actually, it becomes bigger than that, I guess. So I guess just thinking about, I guess, organizations, and often that phrase, cash is king. And I've heard some interesting thoughts on that. I just want to, because obviously it's good to have cash, isn't it? It's good to have cash around. What are your thoughts on cash is king, and is it good to have a lot of cash around?
So yeah, that's a common one. Cash is king, and now you hear a lot of profit is queen.
It's okay.
Introduce me to another one there.
Yeah.
Yeah, cash is very important, and COVID would have demonstrated that to a lot of businesses. Sometimes, especially in the fitness industry, people can run at quite low cash and not have a lot of reserves. And so when COVID hit, they didn't have that money to support them through the time period. So as much as you don't want a lot of cash sloshing around in the business, you do want enough that if anything was to happen, you've got the support there. And that's why I talk about having like pots of money. So you're making sure that you've got, say, tax, your profit, your salary and everything going into pots. And so when something does happen, you've got something to go back on. And I do find that in the fitness industry, they don't necessarily look at cash and the cash run. And it's important because there are dips. Some of these businesses are seasonal, and if you haven't prepared for that seasonal dip, you're just not going to survive. And yeah, COVID has really highlighted that to people, how important cash is. And you don't just want a lot of cash in the business just sloshing around if it's not going to do anything. That's why you would have, you have a budget, and it all connects together. So what are you trying to achieve? Do you need to go out and recruit? So it connects to like your HR strategy, and it connects to your marketing strategy, and it's making sure you've got enough cash to support those objectives. But it's also important that the business owners are paying themselves. because you will
Yeah.
find that a lot of business owners will reinvest in the business and not pay themselves. And that's another thing with like strategy. It's combining that with your tax strategy.
Mm.
So making sure that you're extracting it at the right time. And so you might have more cash in the business because you're planning your tax strategy of when
Yes.
to extract that cash.
Well, the reason I mentioned that the cash is king, because it become a thing where people got obsessed by cash even before COVID. And I remember talking to a lot of businesses where they would just get into cash, having lots of cash, because they've been told cash is king, cash is king. I've got to have cash flow. Obviously, of course, it is. We have ups and downs in our businesses, depending on what you do. But it can also limit your, I guess, scalability. It can limit what you do. And it's like making sure, as you said, put a budget in place. And it's like, do you need X thousand in your bank? Actually, you don't. You know, if you budget and forecast and everything else, you can create enough cash flow to sort of keep you going. But actually, that other cash, because cash sitting in your bank doesn't do anything for you.
No, it just loses value.
It just loses value. And so actually you could invest in, well, that's marketing, people, whatever it may be. And I think sometimes there's another reframe mindset things going on with that as well. And I think as much as I know you do a lot of the technical stuff, I think you're dealing with a lot of this mindset stuff with your clients and, you know, in organizations, because it goes back to those beliefs they've got. And I guess, what are your thoughts on that, just in terms of thinking a bit differently about cash is king and profit is queen?
So it's connecting with the business strategy and the goals of the business. So like you said, you don't just want a lot of cash sloshing around. It's understanding the overall strategy of the business. And if you understand your strategy, then you can put a budget in place and a cash flow in place. And therefore you can understand how much cash you do need in the business. If your strategy is to grow, then you want a budget that reflects that and the cash that's going to help that be achieved. If your aim isn't to grow and you just want to maintain, you're happy maintaining, then you don't need that cash just sat there not doing anything. So it really comes down to understanding your business strategy and your objectives and your personal goals, and aligning your business and your budget and your cash with that.
Yeah.
So like you said, if you want to grow and you want to invest, then you need the cash there to do that. But the cash in your bank's just going to sit there being $5,000, and actually the buying power of that is going to get lower and lower if it just sits there. Whereas if you think, I want to invest in, I don't know, some advertising, or I want to invest in a business coach, and what's that return on investment going to give you?
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think I deal a lot with this, with businesses where this this mindset of money becomes, and it comes sometimes from their own experience, where they've started a business and they've had some really rocky moments, and therefore they've created this mindset of almost a small-minded mindset, as in, even though they might be a bigger business now, they've still got a small mindset of keeping cash to themselves and ring fencing things and almost get a security blanket, which I guess all stems back to that mindset. And it's coming with that clear strategy of what you're trying to do, how you're going to get there. And this is what you need to do, isn't it?
Yeah. So with money mindset, they say there's kind of three main things that people may have issues with. So one is receiving money, which we talked about earlier, uncomfortable receiving money. Some people want to hold on to money, and which is what we're talking about now. And some people are uncomfortable maybe with giving away money. So when you're uncomfortable with holding on to money, it might be because when you were younger, maybe there wasn't a lot of money around, or you were told, don't spend it all at once. And these mindsets, they mean that you're just holding on to a ton of money, and you're too scared to maybe take the risk or invest in your business further, or take it out and treat yourself. So sometimes you can connect your own self-worth to money. So if you feel a bit, maybe have some negative beliefs, self-beliefs, you then maybe don't feel like you deserve the money. So therefore you hold it in the company and you don't take it out of the money and live the life you want to live.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's kind of two, I guess, different reasons why maybe you're holding on to too much money in the company.
Okay. And so you talked about there about giving money away as well. That sort of, is that like sort of giving charitable things, or just because some people struggle sometimes with paying people as well, don't they? Because and they will delay things, or they'll push it back, or whatever it may be. So yeah, that giving away money feels a bit, I suppose you feel a bit out of control. It's gone, it's lost.
Yeah. So most people would think of, charitable when giving, but it's what you said. It's feeling uncomfortable with having, so you're, instead of having that money in your business, you're giving it away to someone else, and you feel uncomfortable because suddenly your bank balance has dropped. And so they delay payment, or they ask for an extension, or they just avoid the conversation. But that's just ultimately going to lead to creating a bad relationship with your supplier. And yeah, so you can feel uncomfortable with giving away money, or it might be that you argue about the price, and it could be you're arguing about like such a small amount of money in the big scheme of things, when actually you'd be better off investing a little bit more and getting a better service, or faster turnaround times. So it's interesting how all these things come back to your mindset. And if you think in like a big organization, you can have these clashing mindsets where people have been brought up differently, or had different experiences and different beliefs. And so you can get to like board level and you've got different mindsets clashing.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point, actually, because you may be in a situation where somebody wants to invest in a scenario, and somebody says, "No, actually, I don't want to. I want to hold back, and no, I don't think I've got enough money." And how do we reconcile that when there's a group of people, and you might be dealing with perhaps individual businesses owners, but there might be a couple of directors. How do we handle that almost group dynamic of mindsets? Because it can be quite challenging, can't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's why you need a good articles in place when you form the business, and so it comes down to the strategy of the business, and that should be agreed upon. So what are you trying to achieve in this business? The business might be looking to sell off in 5 years' time. So you get businesses where they want to build this great base, great brand, and then they want to sell off in 5 years. You get businesses that want to grow and then franchise out. And others are lifestyle businesses. So it's important that the directors agree on the direction of the business. And then it becomes easier to make those decisions. Should you invest or should you not? Because we try to go down the logical route. So is this a logical decision to invest? But a lot of decisions are made from the emotional part of your brain. And so it's being able to connect with the emotions and not phrase it, but present it in a way that's going to emotionally connect with that person so they can come to a joint decision. So you provide logic, because that's how I feel comfortable. I have the logic, and then you make an emotional decision, but you feel like you've applied logic to that decision.
No, I think you're right. It goes back to that strategy piece, isn't it? And that's where the logic becomes in, and that's your guiding lights of a situation of decision making. Is, let's go back to the strategy. Is this what we're trying to achieve? Our mission statement, purpose, whatever it is, vision, and that will make it clearer and easier. Where you go, does this get us closer to what we're trying to achieve? And if it does, then subject to we've all got resources, then we go ahead and do it, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. So if you're wanting to grow the business, you're going to have to invest. You're going to have to take a bit of risk, and you're going to have to go and invest in something. And it might not be something that's tangible. It could be something intangible, such as a coach. And by having that strategy, you can say, right, this is going to achieve this, this, and this, and this takes us towards our strategy. And because otherwise people can get into this just overspending for the sake of overspending. They call it investment, but they just they're basically just spending money because they feel uncomfortable having this much money.
Yeah.
So they just overspend. So by going back to a logic, and the strategy, it helps you to kind of take a step back, calm down, and then think through the process.
Excellent. I found this really valuable, Debbie. It's good to have this. And I think the mindset of money is not only just a personal thing, but I think it's a thing in business, whether you own a business, whether you're part of a business. I think the mindset, getting a healthy mindset, is really sort of valuable. And I thank you for your insights and your experience. If people are interested in wanting to connect with you, what's the best way of them going about that?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Debbie Hancock, ACMA, and I'm quite active on Instagram, trying out some new tactics on Instagram, or new strategy on Instagram. So Southbourne Accountancy on there, and they can send me a DM, or on my website there is a contact sheet, but to be honest, most people seem to like to go through social media.
Brilliant. And I know you do an awful lot of posting a lot of videos of helping solving people's problems. So do watch Debbie's sort of videos, certainly on LinkedIn anyway, I've seen. So thank you for coming on today. Really appreciate it. And no doubt we'll see you in person at some point within the chamber locally. So that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll see you then. I think it'll be the November one, so I'll see you then.
Yeah. Thank you, Debbie. Cheers.
Thanks.